In 1966, Brazil witnessed a chilling mystery known as the 𝗟𝗏𝗃 case, a story that continues to captivate and baffle people to this day. Two men, Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana, were found lifeless on a hillside in Niterói, Rio de Janeiro in an eerie and unsettling scene. They wore matching suits, and over their eyes were homemade lead masks. A strange and haunting detail that sent shivers down the spines of those who discovered their bodies. The circumstances of their deaths left more questions than answers. There were no signs of any struggle or trauma, and little was found with them except for an empty water bottle, a few towels, and a cryptic note. The note, written in an almost ritualistic style, only deepened the mystery, hinting at a strange sequence of actions the men were supposed to follow. The 𝗟𝗏𝗃 case stands as one of Brazil's most puzzling and unexplained mysteries, enveloped in speculation and intrigue as people still wonder what really happened on that hillside. Did these men intend to perform some kind of ritual? Why did they need lead masks, and what drove them to climb that hill in the first place? Above all, what led to their tragic end? These questions linger, leaving the world fascinated by a case that has defied explanation for decades. On August 20, 1966, the bodies of Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana were found under chilling, mysterious circumstances on Vintém Hill in Niterói near Rio de Janeiro, marking one of the most perplexing cases in Brazilian history. A young boy named Jorge da Costa Alves was flying a kite when he stumbled upon the two men lying side by side in the grass. At first he thought they were simply napping, but the strong smell of decay soon made him realize the grim reality. He quickly ran to inform the authorities, who faced challenges reaching the secluded area but ultimately sent a small team of police and firefighters to investigate the scene. When they arrived, the officers found the men dressed in formal suits and waterproof raincoats despite the warm weather. Most unsettling were the homemade lead masks covering their faces, which were shaped like sunglasses and gave the scene an eerie feel. The absence of visible wounds or signs of trauma further deepened the mystery, as it suggested that neither man had been attacked, ruling out foul play. A small notebook near the bodies
contained cryptic instructions that baffled investigators. 16:30 be at the specified location, 18:30 ingest capsules, after the effect protect metals, await signal mask.
These lines hinted at a planned series of events but provided no clear explanation of what had led to their deaths. Vintém Hill itself, with its dense vegetation and challenging terrain, added to the unsettling atmosphere, especially as the stench of decomposition hung in the air. The men had last been seen alive on August 17 when they told their families they were going to São Paulo to buy work supplies. They were later spotted boarding a bus to Niterói but never returned, and their bodies were found 3 days later, further intensifying the mystery. The discovery sent shockwaves through local authorities and the surrounding community. Those involved in the investigation were struck by the strange details: the lead masks, matching attire, cryptic note, and odd location. A bartender who had interacted with the men before their disappearance recalled how they seemed nervous and anxious, which added to the overall intrigue of the case. As news of their deaths spread, wild theories began circulating, from drug overdoses to UFO connections. Residing in Campos dos Goitacazes, a town northeast of Rio de Janeiro, both men were trained technicians who specialized in the installation of television transmitters and operated a local repair business where they were known for their skills. Their professional lives were stable, and they had even planned to expand their business by traveling to São Paulo to purchase materials and equipment. However, beyond their work, both men reportedly had a strong interest in fringe sciences and spiritualism. Accounts from friends and family revealed that Manuel and Miguel were part of a group called scientific spiritualists who explored ideas beyond conventional science, such as attempts to contact extraterrestrial beings or conduct unusual experiments. They took these activities seriously and were believed to have experimented with substances that could heighten spiritual or paranormal experiences. This interest in otherworldly phenomena was reflected in the behaviors they displayed just before their deaths. Witnesses observed that in the days leading up to their tragic end, Miguel appeared particularly anxious and checked his watch frequently, as noted by a waitress at a local bar. This anxiety seemed out of character and hinted that he was engaged in something beyond an ordinary business trip. Further adding to the mystery, they were found wearing waterproof raincoats, and a cryptic note was discovered near their bodies instructing them to be at a specific location at 4:30 p.m. and to ingest capsules at 6:30 p.m., after which they were to protect metals await signal mask. These instructions implied a carefully planned event, possibly related to their spiritualist practices, where they might have used substances to alter their consciousness and wore lead masks to protect their eyes from some anticipated intense light. Items found in their homes, including texts on spiritualism and materials for making the lead masks, reinforced their involvement in paranormal experiments. All of these factors suggest that their visit to Vintam Hill was not casual but rather the result of a premeditated ritual, possibly aimed at achieving a spiritual experience. Despite these clues, the lack of clear evidence regarding their cause of death has led to endless theories and speculation about their final actions and intentions. The cryptic note found near the bodies of Manuel Pereira de Cruz and Miguel José Viana has fueled countless theories about what the two men may have been planning on that fateful day. The note's instructions, written in simple but puzzling terms, read 16:30 be at the agreed place, 18:30 swallow capsules, after effect protect metals await signal mask. Each line seems to hint at a carefully arranged sequence of actions possibly linked to the two technicians' interests in spiritual and paranormal activities. The first line, 16:30 be at the agreed place, suggests that Manuel and Miguel were expected to meet at a specific location at a designated time, implying they had previously planned or discussed this event, perhaps as part of a ritual or experiment tied to their exploration of the supernatural. 18:30 swallow capsules is a particularly mysterious instruction, as it implies that they were to ingest some type of capsule, potentially psychoactive substances like LSD or psilocybin, which are known to produce altered states of consciousness. Given their spiritual interests, it's speculated that these capsules might have been intended to induce visions or profound experiences, perhaps in line with beliefs about contacting otherworldly beings. Another theory suggests that the capsules could have been something less intense, like vitamins, but this seems less likely given their unusual behavior and known interest in fringe sciences. Following the ingestion of the capsules, the phrase "after effect protect metals" adds another layer of mystery. Here metals likely refers to the lead masks found with their bodies, which may have been intended to shield their eyes from a predicted intense light. This detail has led to theories that the men expected to experience a visual phenomenon, whether physical or hallucinatory, and wore the lead masks as a protective measure during their experiment. The final line, awaits signal mask, implies they anticipated some kind of signal or cue, possibly an external event or even a mental or spiritual revelation that they expected to perceive under the influence of the capsules. Some speculate they were waiting for a sign or indication from a supernatural source, while others believe it may have been a part of their altered consciousness experience. This phrase could further hint at their belief in receiving a communication from another dimension or realm. Together, the instructions in this note paint a picture of two men deeply involved in a planned event that may have centered on altered states of consciousness or attempts at supernatural contact. Their roles as scientific spiritualists align with the idea that this note detailed the steps of a ritual designed to transcend ordinary reality. Although the note provides tantalizing clues, the true meaning of these instructions remains elusive. The investigation continued with an autopsy, but its results proved frustratingly inconclusive. A delay in conducting the autopsy due to a backlog of cases at the coroner's office meant that by the time it was performed the bodies had decomposed to the point where reliable conclusions could not be made. As a result, toxicology tests were inconclusive since the state of the organs was too decayed to analyze properly. Neither body showed any signs of major trauma or injury, and without toxicological evidence investigators could not determine if poisoning or a reaction to ingested substances may have contributed to their deaths. This lack of physical evidence added to the confusion, and with no signs of a struggle at the scene, the police leaned toward the idea that the deaths may have been the result of a planned activity gone wrong rather than foul play. The mystery of the capsules mentioned in the note also remained unsolved, as no capsules or similar substances were found near the bodies. With so little concrete evidence, the investigation struggled to progress. The lack of witnesses or anyone who could shed light on the men's final moments only compounded the mystery, and in the end the case was left with more questions than answers. Over the years, several theories have emerged to try to explain what may have driven them to their mysterious end. One widely discussed theory is that the two men were attempting to communicate with extraterrestrial beings or engage in some form of supernatural experiment. The idea of communication with aliens has gained traction due to the fact that both men were known to be interested in scientific spiritualism, a belief system that often explores connecting with entities beyond the physical world. The lead masks covering their eyes suggest they may have anticipated a blinding light during this supposed contact, which they believed would require protection. Additionally, a note found at the scene which instructed them to await signal mask has been interpreted by some as implying they expected some kind of response or signal from an alien source. There were also accounts from local residents who claimed to have seen strange lights in the sky around the time of their deaths. Adding to the theory of a UFO encounter, this theory is further supported by the heightened interest in UFO sightings that marked the 1960s, particularly in Brazil, where reports of sightings were fairly common. Some suggest that the men may have been part of a community or group that believed in such ideas and felt they could establish contact with intelligent life beyond Earth. Another prominent theory is that the men were conducting a scientific experiment related to their background as electronics technicians, potentially testing electromagnetic fields or similar phenomena. The lead masks in this theory are believed to have been a peculiar precaution, perhaps to shield themselves from harmful energies or radiation. Although lead masks are typically associated with protection against radiation, this theory has faced some skepticism due to the mask's size and shape, which more closely resembled sunglasses than complete protective headgear. However, the idea that they may have had a specific purpose for the masks as part of some unorthodox experiment still holds weight. There is also the fact that they brought raincoats, which might indicate they were preparing for exposure to some element, though it remains unclear what exactly they expected. Investigators found no traces of radiation at the site where they died, which raises further questions about this theory, as no evidence was found to indicate they had been exposed to any harmful radiation or other toxic substances. Examinations conducted on their bodies after exhumation also revealed no signs of typical poisoning or overdose substances, which could have provided more insight into the nature of any experiments they might have been attempting. A third possible explanation centers on the men's religious or spiritual beliefs, particularly their involvement with Spiritism, a movement that was very popular in Brazil at the time. Both men were known to be involved in spiritualist activities, and it is believed that they may have been pursuing contact with non-physical entities or trying to access a higher state of consciousness. Spiritism encourages its followers to seek contact with the spirit world, which may include attempts to communicate with the dead or other beings. Some suggest that the lead masks and the note specifying particular rituals were part of a larger spiritual endeavor. During the 1960s, followers of Spiritism were often interested in providing empirical evidence for the supernatural, and it is possible that Manuel and Miguel were trying to conduct a form of ritual or test to validate their beliefs. Their preparations indicate that they took their activities seriously and had specific intentions that day, possibly hoping to experience some form of spiritual revelation. Additionally, they were reportedly part of a network of individuals in similar trades who shared these beliefs, suggesting that their actions may not have been solely based on personal curiosity but influenced by a community interested in exploring metaphysical questions. This larger spiritual circle may have encouraged the men's pursuits, leading them to attempt something that ultimately went tragically wrong. The lead masks case has puzzled people for decades, leaving behind numerous unanswered questions about the strange deaths of Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana. One of the most baffling details is the purpose of the lead masks they wore. In considering all these factors, others still question whether simpler explanations might exist.